Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wartscenter. We've had a week, haven't we?
That's one
That
way
is
to
a
say it.
definition. Yes.
So yeah, I'm joined this week by our last time hosts, Cody and Brando, and then we have a new fun little host, Ivan. Hello.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Don't let anybody
Yeah,
in here.
he is he's the coach of the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into what happened week one. So we've got the scores up on the screen. Vermin Skulkers take a 1-0 loss to the Dragonaires. The Aliens and the Luchadors tie. The Matriarchs beat the Chosen Grung. The Mayhem pull out an upset against Underheim, which we'll get to talk about these in just a second, but let me get through the slate. The Lizards with Attitude take on beat the Dragons 2-0, and the LCU Mudclaws beat the Snoo Snoos 2-0. And then our premiere match, if you caught the stream, sorry for the quality. We will improve as we move on. Live streaming was not the way to go, apparently. But the Dark Iron beat the Guardians 2-0. Initial thoughts, fellas?
What a week of Blood Bowl.
Dwarf Interception. Let's talk about that. Dwarf Interception?
Multiple interceptions.
Oh, yeah, there were multiple
Two
interceptions.
of them.
The league's off to a great start.
Yep. Yeah. So as far as predictions, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Our official analysts, I think the most correct was Aggie with like a 29%. He got two of them correct. He picked Manhattan and he picked which other one did he pick? I think he picked the Mudclaws, and that's the only two that he got right. Everyone else, I think,
the one match that mattered. Correct.
Yep. But all right, let's break into these one by one. So Skulkers versus Dragonaires, a big goose egg with casualties and touchdowns for the Skulkers. So pretty rough showing. When the Dragonaires came out with a pretty good run, 4 casualties and 1 score. I mean, what do you guys think about this match? I think 2 new coaches, so it was a true mystery. But maybe we've seen a glimpse into the future here.
I think the potential injury concerns for this team are showing up.
Yep.
I mean, we were expecting a tie, leaning towards the Skulkers just because of scoring.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like it just got out of hand.
Rats are squishy.
Yeah.
Rats are squishy.
Yeah, I mean that's a brutal sequence of events. I mean, you get scored on, you get picked off, 4 of your rats get hurt, 1 is dead, 2 are missed next game, and then you pull out just a last minute garbage time pass. Brutal showing.
Like a turn 3 touchdown and a turn 5 interception is rough, but then all 4 Kazes on the same turn.
Well, okay, so let me
am I misreading this?
Let me give some context. These were 2 new coaches. They weren't keeping track at the time.
Per turn, okay.
So, the broadcast shut off, and then when we came back, there were 4 casualties. Yeah, the turn is not exactly correct there. It happened somewhere in the middle, but they were not all on the same turn, to be clear.
Everyone blacked out.
Yeah.
This is what happened.
Yeah,
because I knew the 4 Kazes had happened, but
it was over the course.
It happened on one turn. Like that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was over.
That'd be insane.
Yep.
That would be. Oh.
Yep, no, just a stat keeping thing, no big deal. It was all accounted for in the end, but the turn is not super accurate. Yeah, but
still 4 Kazes in relative consecutive order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's yeah. It was.
Yep. So I mean, well done, Dragonaires, Skulkers.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it was just a rough day of Blood Bowl, and we've all had those. So the next one,
Week 1,
it guarantees to be more productive. I would say.
Yeah.
All right, now this is the one. Hey, Ivan, you want to talk about it? I don't even want to say anything. Let's talk about it.
I'll gladly talk about it. This was a miracle on ice, folks. I don't know that I'll have a match like this again, but I gave it everything I had. I used all of my one brain cell and just really thought. And I gotta tell you, my dice were hot. I had one goal. I was trying to bust those gutter runners, and I did. I even got to induce a star player, which was Helmet Wolf, and I didn't end up needing him. He was actually worthless.
Yeah.
As you can see by the stats.
I don't see him on the stat sheet, yeah.
No, it was all my beastmen, and they performed. The Call of Duty was answered.
Yeah, well done. That's
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
it was hard fought. Undaheim gave me they gave the fight of their lives. This was not one-sided at all. You can see, I lost a couple of guys in here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I remember walking over that very last turn. So correct me if I'm wrong in the sequence of events, but it was his turn 16. He had a chance to hit your ball carrier to stop you.
He did.
And force a tie, but had to roll a go for it or a one die block.
One die block.
It was a one die block, and the skull came up with no rerolls. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No. He used all his rerolls, and it was just unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I had enough motion that even if he stopped the ball carrier, I still had a very good chance of making that touchdown. So it wasn't like that one roll determined everything.
Right.
It was just a rough.
But
it was a rough go at that. Yeah.
But that was the coffin nail.
Ball was a final kick to the
Coffin
balls.
nail.
Yeah, no, do not get me wrong. That was it was rough on their end.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, 5 casualties, 2 of which came from fouls. Undaheim looking pretty rough next week. 2 gutter runners missed next game. Yeah.
And they are going against the Trololo Luchadors next week.
That'll be a good one.
And without their gutter runners, that's going to be a very hard matchup.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, which actually, a little bit of a spoiler, it may be the match that you see on stream next week.
Ooh.
But, okay. Yeah, I mean, just lighten up the stat sheet on both sides with this. Lots of casualties, lots of scoring. Insane match. The biggest upset of the night, for sure. All right, moving on to our tie, our one draw that we had, the Aliens and the Luchadors. So, yeah, Brando, you were there. What do you think?
Honestly, this outcome was okay. Obviously, I'd rather have the win, but from what I remember, just 6 trolls, armor 10 plus, regen, 6 mighty blow. I was just playing screen for the most part. I chose defense to start. I was screening, and I just took most of the time that I could just hitting the snotlings. And I only got, I think, 2 out the whole game. And at some point on the second half, when I could come back and score it, my Dark Elf got injured. And I injured my own. Quill basically had turf toe and injured himself. So both of my consistent scoring threats were out. So NASCAR Jaw Blitza doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this game.
Which is your orc, right? For context.
Yeah. So I threw a pass to a lineman. The lineman ran up, handed it off to the orc.
Okay.
And the orc.
Okay.
I've talked about this in length, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later on when we have more discussions about our matches. But I could have scored sooner, but I was already feeling kind of outnumbered between just the sheer number of stunties and the fact that I didn't remove any of the trolls. Diablo Zod pushed a troll to the sideline, but everyone else moved to the other side of the field, and I couldn't walk away. They were just both standing there menacingly, looking at each other. So it was like, yeah, this is going well. So honestly, for a meat grinder first match, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I'm okay with a tie to start because compared to last season, It's a lot better. Last season, I started with the 4-0 shutout,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a rough start. This one, I have enough money going into the next match. No matter what happens, I can get my next big guy. So
All right.
it was interesting.
Yeah, and I see a scary little moment on turn 10 there. Looks like you almost lost Dorpheus for good, huh?
Yeah, and I debated on.
He
It
fell.
reminded me
The
of
heart stopped, and then they resuscitated him.
yeah, and knowing his dice, he the first season when I played him and he had ogres, he killed my source. I appoed it, and he
Mhm.
killed it again.
Oh, jeez.
And
It
I was
almost did it again. Yeah.
It almost he almost did it again. I'm looking at this. I'm thinking of the second season when my bodyguard died against the dwarves in the first match, and I didn't appo it. And it's like I'd rather just appo this, risk someone else going down. Which, by the way, there was fouls on Zod and Skia
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the match. So like that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. I put 75k into a dark elf. I can't just toss it out. I'm gonna burn an appo.
Sure.
So, it sucks that still injured, but
It's an elf. Who
get the
needs
ball.
armor?
Who needs armor, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, literally, like if you look at the stat sheet, it was an identical,
True tie on
a
every aspect.
true
It was a
tie
true
down the board.
tie.
So,
Yeah.
which will be interesting because that's a divisional match. So,
Yep.
it'll be
For
interesting
sure.
to see if it comes down to some sort of crazy tiebreaker between you two
Yeah.
come playoff time. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on. The another upset of the night, I in my opinion, the Elizabeth Attitude, the last ranked team by the analysts, pulls off the upset against the Dragons.
Mm.
So not a lot to talk about in terms of what happened in the game. The overall numbers are pretty low, but yeah, 2-0. So the Lizzas started pretty early, got the only casualty that they would see that night, and then put the score in around the end of the first half. And then the crowd got involved in the second half and took out one of the Lizzas. And then, sorry, I thought somebody was behind me. Freaky. Anyway, and then Two Croc put.
Sorry, that was me. I came out of the
Yeah,
wall
out
for
of the
a
walls.
second.
There's like weird shadows happening. Anyway, I'm in a dark room with like only one light. Oh yeah, then Two Croc put the coffin nail in turn 15. So what do you guys think about this match?
It is nice to see the Lizzes get their flowers. I
Yeah.
said it from week one. I said this was the season of Lizzes,
Mm-hmm.
and I was proved correct.
Yeah. I mean, hey, this was. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's like I really do congratulate the Lizzo's coach, and I'm happy that we are finally starting to see some more growth from our newer coaches and like them excelling. It's like, and it's like, yeah, especially those redrafted lizards with those block sources are devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Called it.
Yep.
Oh, I will say, brutal start for the Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
Yeah, not a lot of development on a dark elf team that is thirsting for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll move on. The New England Matriarchs, who I was told that we were being disrespectful to last week. I don't know about that, but hey,
okay.
I mean, hey, he took it. He put it on the bulletin board, and he walked out and got a 2-1 victory. So yeah, what do you guys think about this match?
Well, let's we have a late edition here. We got Coach Laws on the line.
Commissioner.
He's the commissioner, and I'm assuming he's dying to say something about these matriarchs.
Yeah, welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and to the NKBBL faithful. Yeah, no, I will gladly have my input for anything and everything that has to do with this league. I think this was a welcome return for the Matriarchs, of course, brought in by a coach who unfortunately had to step away from the game last season, but came out, and I know that the big story, I think, in this game was that the Grung did not have Nuffle's favor on their side, especially through the first half of the game, but you take what is given to you in those kind of situations, and the Matriarchs definitely turned it into a lot of progress that helped lead them to a big 2-1 victory here in the opening week of the season. Especially when you look at the stat line, you definitely got, useful advancements on the types of players that you want those advancements on when you're playing an Amazon team.
I'm really excited to see this development. I know we'll talk about it later when we go over the teams updates,
Mhm.
but
Yep.
this is a promising start. Looking
Mhm.
forward to seeing them more.
I knew this was. I had a feeling, and I think we all felt the same way, that this was from the get-go was going to be a close match. This was going to be a very much ball shifting and potentially high scoring or locking people out of scoring type of match, and it looks like that's what it was. Since I'm looking at a last turn of the game to win the game
Yep.
to get us out of the tie that we had predicted. Yes, it was it's played out about how I would expect. Maybe not as aggressively like Kaz wise, but I
Not as
mean,
many Kazes as I thought. That don't get me wrong, New England, they got their Kazes in, but I expected to see a lot more frogs being as squishy as they are.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
think
mean, the
Upsell had
Matriarchs are
less
actually lower armor. So Amazons are mostly armor 8. So
That is true.
to
Yeah.
see Uptow put up the goose egg is pretty interesting, I think.
I think Uptow last season didn't have that many casualties.
Yeah.
Period.
I think
They did get the Pillow Hands award, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I think Uptow's lack of Kaz's is showing everyone just how devastating it is and how hard it is to take down a team with all dodge. Just the sheer defensive power of having a team that is that slippery to hit. It doesn't matter if they have low armor.
Yep.
You have to hit them first before you even try to go for the armor.
Yep.
So, I think this is a very good indicator of what people can expect when they are looking at going against either of the Amazon teams they're going to be playing against.
Yeah, they definitely have a little bit of defense built in.
I think it really comes down to a coaching stylistic situation. We mentioned the Grung are not a high casualty recording team in general, despite the stat lines that their players present. But that goes again to show how they play. The Grung definitely play at a very, jumpy, evasive style, as is the case for a lot of Slayan teams, whereas the Matriarchs have an Amazon team, but they are definitely a forward attacking play style, and they played into their advantages. And having dodge across the board obviously makes you slippery enough to even an aggressive team. So at the end of the day, I think between the dice and the type of play that we expect out of these coaches, I mean, it was going to be a close game either way. Two very good coaches that definitely know how to be top caliber teams, and this is just where the dice fell today.
All right, but yeah, great match. Next we have our off schedule match. It was the SCLSU Mudclaws pulling out a routing of the Amazonian Snoo. So this match did not happen on the day, but it did happen a little bit later. Not a whole ton on the stat sheet, but we did have a couple of casualties and a couple touchdowns. Nothing in return for Amazonian, so that's pretty brutal first start.
Coach
Impressive.
Cody, you witnessed this game firsthand. Did anything stand out to you?
I did. Just both coaches being relatively new to the game, both were playing relatively well. Like, definitely were not making a huge amount of mistakes or playing poorly by any means. I think the Mudclaws definitely have picked up on the idea that, I generally have some strength. I can bully other teams around a little bit with my strength advantage. I generally have. And he's by the second half of the game, he started to really put into that more and really trying to be a bit more aggressive with every opportunity he had. But I mean, you can see he, even with making as many blocks as he could try to hit, the dodge saved the Amazons from being hit very many times. And It's the Amazonian snooze. They definitely played a very good screening game and definitely shifted around the pitch, both in their backfield and even into the mid and up into the end zone of their opponent. They were definitely shifting around very, very well, using their dodge very well, but they just had some really rough dice rolls. From my memory serves, I believe the Amazonians failed their. I think they rolled a
Oh.
1 into a 1 on the dodge reroll at least 2 or 3 times on different
It was the
occasions.
moles. It was the moles on the pitch too, right? Towards the end?
Oh, yeah.
The second half had
Yeah.
moles. The second half had the moles on the pitch the entire last
Yep.
half of the game, and they had already been doing a lot of go for it's as well. He really likes to try to make some stretch plays because of his not having as much movement as he would like. He was going for it about probably at least once. One player was going for it at least once a turn, and those moles really kind of made it even more dangerous and more hectic for him to do that. And he was successful for a lot of those times, but those times that got him, I think it was the excessive amounts of turnovers that really just limited his total like availability to do things. Just because, I mean, half your players get to do something, then your turn ends. You're really only playing half the game.
Now, I have heard rumblings that the moles were paid actors. Do you have any comment on that?
Not at
I
this
will
time.
not confirm nor deny these allegations until the NKBBL legal team has cleared any of us to speak on the matter.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, overall, just a bad beat for the snoo. I think it's a tough matchup too. Amazon having dodge everywhere is great until you are faced with a ton of strength 4 and a prehensile tail Croxagore. So, I think it was an uphill battle from the start. But hey, you still get an MVP, and you can start to work that into some successes down the line. Oh, that's the wrong direction. All right. And then our marquee matchup, which you may or may not have seen bits and pieces of due to the lack of our connectivity. The Concept Dune Dark Iron absolutely take the Guardians out back. And Old Yeller to start the beginning of the season. Yeah, I mean, I can start with my perspective on this one as I was the Guardians coach. A lot of ones. It was a rough start. And that allowed the Dark Iron to kind of lean in, which playing against dwarves you just don't want. You don't want them to be able to contact and connect and surround. But failure to pick up the ball, failure to dodge out, ones into ones allowed that board state to happen. And then, then the casualties come, then the knockouts come. And then, I mean, we were making the most out of it. We were throwing some passes. Gnarled Barkley put up a good day, He was, 4 for 5? However, a stretch play goes horribly wrong on turn 5 and throws the interception. A dwarf blitzer pulls a 6+ interference into a 6+ interception and takes it back to score for turn 8. So not great, right? I received first, so that turn 8, then I have to kick it to him again, turn 9, which an attempt to stall was made, and overall got him to stop, to guarantee his victory. But then we threw a couple more passes just for funsies at the end.
Yeah.
What about you, Cody? How'd the game go for you?
It was a good game. It was a good game.
Yeah.
Definitely very much a game of it just once again, it just pointed out the fact that like even if you have like the best like statistical probability of like succeeding at certain things, if the dice are just not with you, the dice are not with you. And it sucks. And every single person in this call has been on the receiving end and the giving end of being diced by your opponent and your own dice. And it's just it's one of those things where like it is never fun to be diced, and it is at a certain point it's not even like it's not enjoyable. It's not. I don't get a huge amount of enjoyment out of just like having such a catastrophic advantage and like just a continuous like thing. Like I'm it's everybody's happy to win, but it's not.
Yeah.
My favorite games I have ever played have been games where they are close turn to turn to turn, that it is a struggle and there is no clear advantage or clear winner at any one turn of any point of the game.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite games to play. I don't like having an overwhelming advantage on my opponents and getting an early like a steamroll advantage and snowball, and I don't like being snowballed. It just is a bad taste either way. You're just like, all right.
But yeah, this is definitely one of the most filled sheets by the end of the night.
Yeah, this is true.
Now, this was definitely one before the mole nibbled on the internet cable. This was, in fact, the game to watch.
Yep. Yeah, I think this ended up. Obviously, I think the expectations was this was going to be a high event game either way. I don't think anyone expected this to be a lopsided matchup, is what it boils down to.
Yep.
And as we mentioned before, it's one thing to have some degree of bad luck. And I mean, when you're going up against a dwarf team, you're expecting that, wall to start moving at you, but it is a slow moving glacial thing. And when you're standing there and you know it's coming either way, you can prepare for it to a fault. But when you're standing there and you have to spend most of your time struggling to even pick up the ball, then all of a sudden you feel the game slipping away before you really have a chance to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I won't say it was entirely just up to the dice. There were definitely some different things I think it could have done to handle the dwarves. I think it was just kind of mismanaged. But this matchup for me was really interesting because of the thought experiment between super slow tanky elves, and then dwarves. Like, what does that matchup actually look like? Because before the game played out, I had no idea. You remove a lot of the advantage that elf teams have against dwarf teams when you cut their kneecaps off and give them 5 movement. But you also, you get some staying power in reverse, which didn't pan out that way. But I think if it goes, 2 out of 3 times, I think the casualties probably even out a little bit, and then you see maybe an interesting story between these two teams.
I agree.
Quick silver lining on this. At least it was a friendly. There's a very good chance this might be like a playoff rematch down the line. But in the grand scheme of thing, unless if it's like a tiebreaker, I mean, this is just a good exhibition match for you.
I mean, short of the catcher, my catcher's dead, which we'll get into. And 3 missed next games, 2 of which are on blockers. So the next game is a little rough, but I mean, yeah, it could have been way, way worse. So. Not too bad.
Two top level coaches, you guys. Not to give you guys too much credit, but the simple way is this is the first week of the season. I think that the pre-elves are a team that will benefit from a level of development that obviously the dwarves came into the game with. Not to say that alone was the difference in this matchup. It was more of a skill-based type thing, and like you said, you're not expecting to know exactly how it was going to pan out, and I think you never really got a real opportunity to figure that out at the end of the day.
Nobody can plan to not be able to pick up the ball. That is something.
But yeah,
nobody
all
plans for
plans
that.
go down the drain as
2
soon
plus
as
2
you
plus.
try to pick up that ball.
But yeah,
I'm actually going through old stats right now. I believe 4 pass completions in a single game is a record in the league for most pass completions in a game.
Yes.
I don't believe
Garbage
anyone has
time.
completed 4 in the same game. 3 has definitely been done.
Gnarled Barkley is the dog.
If I can verify that one for you, I will.
He's
get
just
back to
getting
you.
started.
He's just
Didn't
getting
someone
started,
draft
baby.
him for fantasy football?
Yes, somebody has.
Yeah, it's garbage time, man. I'm telling you, garbage time. Passes.
All right.
PPR.
Anyway, Enough of the matchups. Let's talk about some of the individual players. So this is a section that we're going to update every week, and we're going to go through the league leaders. So this first one is our experienced veterans. These are the players who tagged the most SPP. NASCAR, Yoran, Taguchi Main, Aredo, El Cuchijo, formerly Quattro, are our league leaders right now. The one thing I will say that stands out to me, and I'll let you guys, chime in with anything that stands out to you you'd like to talk about, is the SPP spread was pretty wide week one. We've seen some pretty breakout showings from players. Normally our highest performing week to week is a little bit higher than 7 SPP. Like if you want to be the player of the week, the person who has the most SPP each week, you normally got to put up more than 7, but 7 was enough for a whole host of guys this week. And I also want to include, I'm keeping tabs on the crowd.
Oh,
the crowd, the 12th man is a fucking star with 3 casualties this week. But
I'm waiting for like the most casts to come from the crowd this season.
I think they're technically the leader. I think they're technically the leader, but they get the advantage of being in every game. So results will vary. But anything stand out to you guys?
I'll go ahead and call you out on the 7 SPP. That is indeed a widespread. 5 players putting up 7 SPP, which is, I would say, a good game for any player to put up 7.
Sure.
I think we just generally agree that's a level up in these week 1 games. Everyone can appreciate that. 7 is also the low end for Player of the Week awards in league history. I don't believe it's been lower than 7, but we've had at least a few weeks where 7 ends up being the high mark, and it is always multiple players at that mark. So, when you see these teams that are, putting up good performances, all of these players were in either a victory or, in this case, one of the draws. So you can expect to have a player that usually is, your touchdown plus your MVP. You're putting up, possibly a touchdown and multiple casualties, like we did with NASCAR Job Blitzer this week. It's stuff like that that comes up, and as you mentioned, it was a good spread across the board. Every team statistically was scoring about the average amount of SPP as a whole, but definitely I think there's more expectations upon multiple players across the team, especially with 14 teams in the league. A lot of teams looking to have that development spread out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then this list, just for your guys' information, it will condense to a top 10. It's just when you break down the top 10, there's just so many with 4, basically players that got a few casualties or the majority of the MVPs from week 1, that I just didn't want to leave anybody out. So it plans to be a top 10, but for right now, we want to showcase everybody that breached top 10 plus threshold this week.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Alrighty, and then we've got a few different tables here. These are our skillful scorers. If it's about moving the ball and getting things done on that side of the pitch, these guys are on it. So the only 2 touchdown leader right now, Casey Bug from the SCLSU Mud Claws. That is Chameleon Skink. So well done.
Love it.
Yep. Passes, the leader right now, Nald Barkley, but a pair of Undaheim Mighty Rats nipping at the heels. Slutch with 2, and then Skrias with 1. So Undaheim as a team up there, but they're spreading it out a little bit. We've got the catches for Stump with 4, and then Stank with a pair right on his heels as well. So, the Guardians and the Mighty Rats, they may have lost each, but getting it done in the passing game. And then the craziest thing, I don't even know if this board will ever change. But we had 2 interceptions week 1. Sevius Lysar from the Khazad-dûm Dark Iron and Gilfin Sharab from the Gloomstalker Dragonaires. Crazy stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've got some leaders. Anything stand out to you guys? I mean, for me, it's the interceptions. That's crazy. We had 1 across 3 seasons, and we've gotten 2 in 1 week.
In week 1.
Yep. It's going to be a good season, fellas.
My I think I'm gonna have to try to make Seves Lysar my interceptor from now on. I don't know. It's like if I can somehow manage to get 2 interceptions on him, that would be a
Yeah.
league first, and I am going to go for it.
Got to get on the
He
ball
gets
on him.
on
somehow.
gets on the ball. Wait, yeah. Do they have access to passing?
Secondary, I believe. I'll stay for it.
Look,
So
Hopefully,
he's
it's
a
for Blitzer?
Blitzers have
For
passing
Blitzer?
on secondary.
Okay,
oh my God.
no, Cowboys.
on the
It's
ball. I say you can't do very long legs because of that's a mutation.
On the ball, honestly, would be.
Leap
just to
doesn't
get
give you any
away.
advantages for that. No, it's just a jump. So yeah, but yeah, on the ball. There you go.
Yeah.
Save your money. All right.
Saving up my lunch money.
Yeah.
The thing we do obviously are having this struggle about interceptions, but in a discussion with another one of the coaches, especially with the new coaches we have in the league, and all credit to them, they're hitting the ground running, and they've definitely showing that they have the chops to hang with the kind of coaches we already have in the league. They are, for the most part, in just my experience with them so far, are playing kind of fast and loose. And with that, I honestly believe that there might be more interceptions going forward at this point, actually, just because I think the concept of passing as a function is something that for 3 seasons was such a controlled environment because we all understood the risks of it. And any other coaches that are regular Blood Bowl players that are listening right now would probably agree with me is that passing is something you reserve for certain situations or very aggressive plays otherwise. But it's something that is being utilized more as a whole, I think. Clutch or pressure situations otherwise. And I think there's going to be more situations that interceptions are even a viable thing to happen, much less even being an option, because so many passes, again, are usually made without the risk of interception at all. I genuinely believe at this point we could see more of them going forward, or at least more knockdowns at this point.
Well, let's go. I'm looking forward to it. We're a passing league now.
On that same note, I think this is also going to be a season where we see a definite increase in fouls, given how many we saw just in week 1.
Oh yeah.
From all the new coaches.
That's a great segue into our next table. On the more fun side of the ball, some may say, we've got our most murderous. The crowd leading 12th man, 3 casualties. But as far as actual players, NASCAR had an absolute day. 2 casualties and a touchdown.
So proud of him.
This is an orc on a Chaos Renegade team. Like that's awesome. Bradford Pear, even though recorded the only 2 casualties, I believe, of that game, and then Craven Slayer punching back as best he could against the Mayhem. The kills, which we'll get into, we've got four killers right now: Cranton, Carlian, Leon, and Mr. Coach Klein. And then, like you said, Ivan, the fouls. Your boy Alplex. 2 fouls recorded.
My girl.
Oh, sorry, your girl. Apologies.
Same.
And then Mr. Coach Klein just wanted to get it racked up. That is also his kill. But so lots of fouling. A good stack of casualties. Anything else stand out?
I love to see it. Love to see it. I want to see more. Let's go.
This is another one of those categories of stat where we're seeing a much wider spread across the board, which
for sure,
again, especially when you got a lot of level 1 players, that just ends up being the case in week 1. But going again back to coaching playstyle, we are just seeing a lot more people utilizing the fouls, realizing that there is a risk in fouling, but a lot of people just don't lean into that aspect of the game unless they have a team that is usually like haters to the concept. But we're seeing more coaches, and possibly it's a comfort thing, maybe it's just taking advantage of what's given to them, leaning into the fact that fouling is an option, and I think those numbers are going to go up.
We love it.
For the blood god.
And skulls for the skull throne. All right, so now, anyway, ignore that. We forgot to do a transition, but it's okay. Now, cue your sad music. You're in the arms of the
Hey,
angel.
brother.
This is the segment where we honor those who have fought for the NKBBL and made the ultimate sacrifice. So we honor Nibel Nibbler, the Undaheim lineman. Warlaw Cock, the Vermin Skulkers lineman. Tsar Earthshaker, a Jaguar warrior blocker, tough loss, and then Tree Huggins, Black Forest's catcher. So
Too slow, but never forgotten.
may they bless the pit that many bodies will soon follow.
May we meet again in Valhalla.
Yep.
There was a lot of death last season, I think.
Yeah.
Only going to be more this season, baby.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yep. And if you have a player that dies, just message me. Like, take a picture of the model or like give me some art. Just thanks. All right. Now, on that sour note, let's get into the teams overall and their standings. So, only 1 week of play. Everything's still very much up in the air. But we have some teams that are starting to break away with it. The Mayhem, the Dark Iron, the Matriarchs, and the Mud Claws all take a win to hash out the potential playoff teams for the Blood Division. And then in the Bowl Division, the Dragonaires, the Lizzes, the Luchadors, and the Aliens all get enough done to separate them. So the Luchadors and Aliens, they're hanging on to that playoff spot, but they are a few points behind. Anything stand out to you? Anything you guys want to talk about with team standings? I mean, it's early, so there may not be much here. There's only a few divisional games. Oh, sorry, we'll go back. Yeah, so the Matriarchs and the Mudclaws took a divisional win, and then Dragonaires got off to a divisional win start. But
Skulkers and Snooze SPP totals are just brutal. Just looking at this.
yeah, that's rough.
And to top it off, Dragons and Snoozus are going to, not to spoil too much, are a week 2 matchup, so we're going to be looking at 2 basically undeveloped teams going at it in week 2 to see who can pull themselves out of the cellar right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Divisional too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing some inducement.
Yep.
I mean, we'll get to that.
We'll get to the individual matchups at the end, but yeah. So I mean, it's it's anybody's race still. It's just cool to see it develop and what the playoff picture would look like from week 1. Right now, we got Manhattan making their playoff berth. If the season ended today.
Oh, that's a smoky afterbirth too. That is
Manhattan and the Lizzas making their playoff debut, and possibly and the Luchadors.
And the Luchadors.
Yeah.
And
and the
The
Dragonaires.
whole bowl division almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had
Yeah.
a private post-game analysis with the Liz's coach, aka we rode home together. We were discussing, what it was like going against 2 teams that were essentially way over us historically, and oddly enough, despite having completely separate opponents, the ideas that we had were the same. It's all about defense. It's all about separating their key players.
Yep. It's a decent strategy, and it worked out.
It worked out.
But and also importantly to note, for those of you that are fans of Blood or fans of the more finesse side of it, Blood Division's up. So
Yeah.
Not sure if you stake your claim on which division is better, but right now it's Blood Division.
Blood
Oh,
ahead,
that's gonna
stay ahead.
Yep.
Don't worry. That'll change.
All right,
Okay.
so now let's talk about last week we talked about some power rankings and set everybody in place, and now as you'll see, the analysts have changed their minds a bit. So obviously we've got a little bit of data now and a little bit of an update. Won't go through every single one beat by beat, but important to note that the top generally didn't change.
The top didn't change. The bottom didn't.
The bottom didn't change. So one game is not enough to sway these analysts, it seems. that
It
may
wasn't enough
change.
for Winkins to drop me down a rank. What the hell's up with that?
I don't know. He must have not liked what he saw. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, notably, the Guardians take a massive drop in Aggie's eyes with that loss. Kaza Dune somehow drops a ranking according to Lucifer, even though they pulled off a pretty decisive win. Some of the newbies are way up. The Dragonairs are up to even as high as third, and then the Mudclaws up to as high as third. So some new coaches starting to climb the hill. Yeah, I mean, anything stand out to you guys as far as power rankings before we get into the team updates?
Go Mudclaws. That's all I gotta say.
Go Mudclaws.
I'm seeing a lot of green for a lot of new coaches, and I like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'd love to see growth.
Yep. And then Luchadors, they may have proved some people wrong, got enough done, to get a little bit of an update. Same with the aliens.
I find that amusing.
You guys
just-
tied in both
sure.
rise and ranked.
Yep.
You guys tied each other
Sure.
in
Hey.
frozen rank.
When some new guys are losing and there's some more data coming out, it makes somewhat sense. But all right, so we'll quickly go over all of the teams and just the updates that were made to their rosters from the last time out. I'm gonna go kind of quickly. So if you guys have something you want to shout out, just cut me off, and we'll do this fast and furious. All right. So we're starting with our still ranked Elizabeth Attitude. Put it on the bulletin board. They got a big match this week. No changes other than Taguchi Main getting sneaky get. So
I think that's going to be the X factor.
yeah.
I'm staking my claim here. You heard it. You heard it from me.
Yep. So we'll have to see.
Fouls are going to become a big part of the picture, as I said, and this is proof of that.
Yep. So TV jumps up to 1220, but we're getting kitted out. All right, Manhattan Mutant Mayhem. So a few missed next games. We're not going to see Mick next week. We're not going to see Rockstead next week. Even though Rockstead comes away with strip ball. Awesome. Aliplex, she's got wrestle now. Starting to become a force. Baxter is now a dirty player. That's we got a big Fowler now. And then of course we've got two journeymen. We're not sure who they'll be, but on the day someone will show up.
They rest assured they are ready and they are terrifying.
All right. So they may be loners, but they'll still have horns. All right. The Luchadors. Luchadors hire a goblin. So trolls have access to a goblin. Now they've got one. And then another sneaky get. Quattro survived. A Snotling survived a game, and now he's been renamed, and he's got sneaky get. So again, the fouling game is going to become a staple in this league, I believe. The snooze. When you have a four SPP game, it hurts. Arceus is missed next game. I believe we also had a death on a blocker. So to fill the gap, we've got a journeyman, and that's really the only change here, unfortunately.
It's rough.
Yeah. The aliens. NASCAR had a great match. Comes out with tackle. So now he's block tackle, a true force on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I got a quick note for this one if you want.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll start. So, very happy with NASCAR Jaw Blitz's off-season regimen. He was suffered an edge break, but managed to get over that. And to just quickly determine why I did this, NASCAR, my plan is to be the knife of my team, whereas Diablo Zod is the nuke, the sledgehammer.
Yeah.
So yes, these are my two main blitz pieces. If it's not already obvious, there's a lot of dodge teams I'm expecting to face. A lot of teams that stunty. Like I'm expecting to use them both pretty equally. So we'll see how that turns out.
Cool. Yeah, and then sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. As a NASCAR jobless, I think is genuinely my pick for possibly top player of the year. Going off as previously mentioned here, with the intent of being a dangerous player in his own right. And I think following a history of other top-end players is looking to make a case for why they're going to be top in the division. On the flip side, though, being down Dorpheus here, down your Dark Elf playing with this type of roster, you're going to be in danger in any situation because for as much violence as you can bring to the pitch, you still got to be able to get the ball in the end zone, and a Dark Elf is usually the big part of the equation here.
Yep.
It's
So,
brutal.
yeah, a little tough to replace that with a human lineman with loner, but hey, maybe NASCAR is is able to cover that gap.
That blistering 5-speed.
Yep. All right, the Dragons again. A 4 SPP day means unless you want to take a random, not much is going to change. This one there was no casualties either, so it's week 1 again. No major change, but hopefully some more development in this team's future.
They'll bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. The Skulkers, a couple, one random was taken, so we've got a gutter runner with diving tackle now. So, possible blitzing piece. Could be annoying in the right situation. Gutter runners can get anywhere, so maybe it has some use. But a host of injuries is going to really hinder this team this week, I think.
Yeah, going down a blitzer is always going to be a bad time.
Yep.
Especially when you're playing in a build with no Rad Ogre, you're really leaning speed of the gutter runners. But having diving tackle on that first gutter runner is an opportunity to fill in the gaps. A lot of people will take that third or fourth gutter runner and turn them into a pseudo blitzer. And diving tackle is a good starting block for turning one of those gutter runners into something that, while squishy, can be a really annoying piece that can get on top of ball carriers.
Oh yeah, and gutter runners are excellent at being annoying.
It'll be a great safety.
Yeah. Plus, I think there's some inducement this week with the amount of missing players. So get to go shopping, which is always fun. The Matriarchs came off with a big win. They bought an apothecary, so they're making an investment in keeping the development that they've started, which I think is great. Block on the blocker, amazing. Sidestep on the blitzer, that is that's also great. The blitzers are interesting in that they have dodge, hit and run, and then now adding sidestep is going to make them very mobile, very, very mobile.
I think Sonya is going to be damn near unstoppable.
I do think this is definitely a playoff contender now. Just after one game with the development they've had, they can only go up from here.
Yep.
This is one to watch.
Yep. I mean, you've got one blodger. It's huge.
4 strength blodger.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. That's going to be the big point I want to point out here is that if you were sleeping on the Matriarchs before, you shouldn't be sleeping on them at any point. I think this is a team that it's easy to glance over because Amazons can be a bit white bread for a lot of people, but you got a strength 4 blodger, like you said. If we're talking about NASCAR Jaw Blitzer being potentially the top end of the player for this whole season, Areto is right behind in what I think could be top end of the leaderboards at the end of the day.
All right. Mudclaws, they hired a 5th Saurus, so just getting beefier and beefier. This was a recent acquisition that just happened I think today or yesterday.
Yesterday, and I believe there may have been actually one more update. Laws that you received.
We just got word.
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news, as it were. The updates today for this roster. That is spending 85K out of their treasury, bringing them down to 0 to add another source blocker, number 4. That's Lawrence Taylot.
Yep.
And an upgrade, level 2 take for Casey Bug, and that is going to be diving tackle.
Okay.
Ooh.
Nice. So now dodge diving tackle on the ball.
I like that.
1080.
Thus solidifying that chameleon's dedication to the ball.
Disgusting.
I think it
is
an
on the ball
take.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to watch. I like it.
Yep. I mean, that makes sense. You get 2 touchdowns, you go shopping, you get a skill. So very cool.
Yeah.
All right, the Dragonaires, a whole host of randoms. So when you got them, you got to spend them. Get sneaky get on a blitzer, great. Lineman with block, so you essentially now have another like pseudo blitzer, which is going to be brutal, I think, on this team. And then the runner now has sure feet, so some stretch plays looks like in Julf Mammoth's future. So yeah, I mean, good start.
Don't
Oh, yeah.
sleep
Early
on this
development.
team. I know that I was just talking about this. Don't sleep on the Matriarchs. Don't sleep on the Dragonaires either. This is a new coach, but absolutely getting that full gamut of SPP in that first game to get some levels on some players, really create some versatility in what you have access to. Not a huge fan of sneak you get on a blitzer, but again, you take what you get.
In a pinch.
It's not the greatest, but I think that can be utilized in some really odd ways that we will see in the season.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right. Uptow. So Froker is missed next game. Our Croxagore now has block. So took a secondary skill, took that additional contract money, but now he's a force to deal with.
That is nasty.
Big guys with block, I'm a massive fan of. It's pricey,
Very
but
strong.
so hard to deal with. Timothy gets sidestep, so now he's got a whole host of skills. These catchers are becoming the stars of the team. I mean, they were last year, and they're just getting stronger. Because now, yeah, I mean, Blodge sidestep. He's gonna be all over pro. He's gonna be all over the place, and it's gonna be a lot of work to get him down or somewhere where you don't want him.
Even with a slow start to the season for the Grung.
Yep.
We talk about stars coming back from last season. Timothy is kind of the benchmark for how good of a player can be without someone like Skrunkflit Reaver or Freya Sigurdrifa to be, the big time top level
Superstar.
scoring threat. Timothy now being Blodgestep is absolutely the potentially most dangerous player on the field when it comes to scoring touchdowns, but we'll see what comes from it.
Cool. Yep. All right, Kaza Doom got a little bit done. He's going to lose Dory next week, but the runners now got block, and then Bomber, another lineman, now has Mighty Blow. So, I mean, your standard fare for dwarves. They're packing on the muscle. They're ready to go mining.
They want more protein powder.
Yeah.
They ran out of gems. They now only seek protein.
Yeah. Gains.
Gains.
Yeah, the Guardians took a pair of randoms themselves. So we're going to be missing 2 blockers next week. And one catcher that has unfortunately passed. But random leader on a thrower. So all those passes from Barkley are going to pay off huge. Allows this team a little bit of flexibility in their play style going forward. And then alignment with Leap. I mean, it's an elf. We'll see if it leaps like an elf. And then, yeah, bit three loners coming in. Maple Leaf, Cherry Blossom, Tim Burr making their professional debut. We'll have to see how they go. So, maybe a contract's in their future. Who's to say? And then
Big fan of Leap on the lineman, by the way. Just especially going down a catcher, that is a great cap to fill, especially with the Edge 2+.
Yep, for sure. I mean, mobility is something we struggle with, and that may be the tipping point to give us just a little bit more out of those players. But all right, then our reigning number 1 spot, even though they took the loss, we've got a whole host of journeymen here. A brutal encounter with the chaos. We're missing Rat Chungus. One of the blitzers is gone next week. One of the gutter runners is gone next week. Oh, sorry. The other gutter runner is gone next week. Laws, are you just running a Rat Ogre, a blitzer, and 9 linemen? And a thrower?
Rat Ogre, a blitzer, a thrower, and 8 linemen are what will be on the field into the matchup, and it's not going to be a great time. But this
Especially
is a bit of a strategy when you play Skaven at the end of the day. Is sometimes you kind of get your head kicked in, and you end up fielding a bunch of line rats. And that's going to be one of these situations, and hopefully, obviously not the high agility. That's really more of an elf thing, but the high mobility that rats have is going to have to be something I have to really lean into if I want to, not fall into a complete hole out the gates this season.
Yep. Well, I mean, Craven Slayer's got Brawler, so a good chance to convert some more, both downs into pals, and where there's a rat, there's a way.
Yeah, I was gonna say not the level of I think I would have liked to take in this situation for Craven Slayer, but as we'll soon talk about, Brawler might have been the best option available to me at the time.
Sure.
Mhm.
Cool.
Was that a random or
That was a chosen.
Mm-hmm.
that was chosen? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So with that, we'll talk about the actual matchups and how those advancements are going to play into the next opponents. So week 2 sees the Snoo Snoo visiting the Dragons in a pretty much SPP-less matchup, almost like a week 1 matchup for these two. The Mud Claws host the Matriarchs. The Lizards with Attitude host the Black Forest Guardians. The Uptown Trojan Grung take on the Dragonaires. The Mayhem and the Dark Iron, two titans at the top battle. The Skulkers take on the Aliens, and then, as we'll see, our marquee matchup, Underheim looks for a get-right game against the Luchadors. So, all right, first matchup, Butcher's Bay Dragons at home against the Snoo Snoos. The betting lines at Butcher's Bay at nearly half a touchdown. The analysts are pretty in favor of all three of those. What do you guys think?
I would be, and not for the reasons that the analysts think, but I think the Butcher Bay Dragons are gonna have a comeback game, and this is gonna be where they get their flowers.
I'd agree. I think, despite not a lot of development, the Butcher's Bay Dragons, they have 4 blitzers. They have the oh wait, did they have 4 blitzers? Let me read.
Butcher's Bay
2
is
blitzers. They have the 2
two witch elves.
2 witch elves. Yeah, I think
And an
block
assassin
versus dodge. Yeah, and an assassin. Block versus dodge. The assassin play. I think, like you said, Ivan, this is a get right game. I expect much better results compared to the first game. And honestly, that first match was tough for them.
Hey, they had a hard way to go.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
that same way, a lot of people look at alternative block skills, in this case stab for an assassin. It's an optional kind of thing. You have to find the right situations where it's useful, and it's not against the high armor opponents that you want to use these skills. It's actually against the low armor people, especially when they have defensive skills like dodge. So this is the kind of matchup where situationally, Lucy Hunts, the assassin, has a chance to put up 2, 3, even 4 kinds of casualties. Coach for the Dragons is someone that is definitely no stranger to alternative means of getting their casualties, and I think the player to watch in this game is going to be the assassin, and just to see how many stabs come away in this game.
I agree. Yeah.
What do you have? A knife.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. Yeah. I mean, sorry. I don't want to cut anybody else off. Any other predictions from the rest of you?
I'm leaning towards the Dragons as well.
Yeah.
Snooze. If they have some half decent better luck, they could give them some trouble. But I agree with the commish that stab against a low armor team, that great, you have dodge, but all your 8 armor looks real tasty to my knife.
Yep. I will say, contrary to that, I'm just a little worried about the reroll count.
That's a fair point.
Running out of an insurance policy. It scares me, but I think yeah, I'm a God-fearing little boy, so.
In the last match, his previous opponent had only one reroll, and it was chaotic. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so on to the next match. Uptown's Chosen Grung take on the Dragonaires. The line is as close as it physically can be. 0.01 touchdown difference. Aggie and Lucy think it's going to be the Grung, but Boomer's got his money on the Dragonaires. What do you guys think? We're looking at a pretty sizable TV difference too, with the Dragonaires walking in with about 170 TV.
Never say never. I think the Dragonaires really have a opportunity for an upset.
Oh, absolutely. I think the Grung. I think getting block on Hopper. The strength they have, again, you have Timothy and Titsa, the 2 superstar receivers in the league currently, in my opinion. Hopper with block. I think they have the tools to win. The inducements is not as bad as the last match, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I think they I mean they have playoff experience. They have played games, high stakes games. This is a get right game for them. This will be a good game, I think. Either way.
Not to discredit either of these coaches, but I think this is going to be a real measuring stick for both coaches actually going to this game. I can't outright say which one would win. This might be going with some of the predictions in the models down the middle.
Hmm.
As we've said before, playoff in the first season for the Grung, absolutely high quality team. But after coming off a loss in week one, we're going to have to see how they bounce back with a group of players that are definitely capable of getting the job done against a newer coach. And the Dragonairs coach this is going to be, the moment where we really see what they're made of, going into a lot of coaching decisions, dealing with the prehensile tail block Roxagor that's going to be up front and in their face. And we've already, waxed nostalgic about how great Timothy and Titsa are, and this is a chance to see, can they shut down two very capable ball carriers, with a team that got the luxury of having 3 level ups in their first week playing the game. So it's going to be a lot of coaching decisions that come down to it. A team that is very experienced and has the tools. And we'll also get to see, again, another coaching decision, what they use with that inducement money, and if that can help make the difference in this matchup.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if the match that is getting streamed wasn't getting streamed, this is my runner up. This is the match I want to. This is on what I want to see on my TV because I think it's
Yeah.
going to be wild.
I agree.
Yep. I will say there's 170K to spend for the Dragonairs. Elves not the greatest access, but
Mhm.
there's
Good chunk of change.
there's always options. So, alrighty, the Mud Claws take on the Matriarchs. So the line is set at the Mud Claws, but at 0.09, so it's more closely predicted to a tie here. Aggie and Lucy think Mud Claws, and Boomer is breaking the mold, saying Matriarchs. What do you guys think?
My money's going to be on the Matriarchs this time. I think Boomer's got it right.
Yeah.
I think with that new, that new block piece going in, and with Sonya, again, Sonya's the one to watch. I guarantee it. With Sidestep, I think it's unfortunately going to be a bloodbath for the Mud Claws.
Interesting.
This one, I agree that this is going to be close. I still would give it to the Matrix. I'd agree. I think you mentioned it before with the Mud Claws being very aggressive. I actually really like that aggressive play style with the Lizards. I think between that and like their penchant for potentially fouling, I mean, Amazons are armor 8. They do outstrength them. The question, in my opinion, becomes how consistently can they score, right? Because skinks, they're strength 2, they're stunty. You run a skink through there and you're not careful, I could see the blocker or the blitzer just diving in there and just wreaking havoc.
I'm probably as well leaning towards the Matriarchs, but I'm getting to see what the Mud Claws play like, and now with another Saurus blocker on the line, they are still going to have the uphill battle of trying to just get good hits on the Matriarchs. But if they have, with more pieces that have the potential to, if they start getting some Kazs and pitch clearing, it could be very devastating for the Matriarchs. I think the Matriarchs will be able to handle it. The coach has been down and out before and pulled back, but they definitely have just now got a lot of meat to deal with on that line. They are going to be very much, ideally, probably very much backing away, screening, and just trying to shift around and get some advantageous holes through that line, rather than trying to just all out brawl with more sources and a Croxagore.
For me, I'm actually going to give my flowers to the Mud Claws here. For as much as I've been hyping up the matriarchs in earlier parts of the show, um, I think this is a perfect week 2 matchup for the Mud Claws. For as much praise as we can give, especially the 2 leveled players on the matriarchs roster, this is going to be back-to-back weeks of the Mud Claws taking on an Amazon team, and if anything about the coaching style of both the Snoo Snoos and the Matriarchs are to be believed, they're both aggressive playing coaches, and a lot of that comes from a very forward attack, but with vanilla levels of movement on movement 6 little pieces. Especially with the 5th Saurus being added to the equation for the Mud Claws, I think this is a chance for them to, use their weight, throw it around a little bit, and they had a 2-0 win in week 1 against the Amazons, and albeit they've got more resources to work with when you're talking about the matriarchs, but if the Mudclaws can defensively hold ground the same way they did in week 1, even though the matriarchs are a more well put together team with a coach that has playoff experience behind the wheel, I think this is a great opportunity for the Mudclaws to just keep doing what they were doing last week and run it back and do it and go 2-0.
Yep. I mean, the Mudclaws coach, all he knows is crushing Amazons. It's literally all he's done. But yeah, I mean, you have a matchup that he's familiar with, but then you also have a coach that is one of, our league's founding fathers, so there's a breadth of experience there. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a good match. All right. The 1-0 Manhattan Mutant Mayhem take on the 1-0 Khazad-dûm Dark Iron. So we've got a little game of fisticuffs over here. The line is set to Khazad-dûm by a little over a touchdown, and the analysts all think the Dark Iron are going to win. How do you feel about that, Ivan?
This is just bulletin board material. They always say we can't do it, and yet we've proven we can. But this is going to be, I think it's going to be a great match. I think it's going to be close either way. I don't anticipate either opponent giving it up easy. I also expect this to be uncharacteristically bloody.
Oh yeah.
As do I. It's going to be a regular old round of pugilist over here. We're going to just be
not fisticuffs 24/7.
Yeah. It's going to be.
What's the ball?
What ball? What? There's a ball on the pitch? We didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Wait, who kicked? Did you have the ball? Where's the ball?
Yeah, I mean, both teams are not especially well kitted for scoring, but someone's gonna have to do it, or maybe they don't. Maybe it's a 0-0 here.
I'm waiting for a 0-0 tie.
0-0, 7 Kazs each side.
Yeah.
Several missed next games, a couple of dead players. Yeah, we both had less than 3 to put on the pitch. We had to give it up.
Yeah, we both.
This is going to be an absolutely violent game either way, and 2 of the slowest teams that we have in the league. Not to discredit, anyone's approach to the game, but numbers are numbers. So there's not much that these teams are going to be able to do other than try and beat the absolute hell out of each other.
Yep. Another fun match. I can't wait to talk about this one next week.
we're gonna see league high casualty counts.
Yeah. All right. So the Lizards with Attitude take on the Black Forest Guardians. Even though the Guardians took a pretty pitiful beating, they're still favored by nearly 2 touchdowns. I believe this is the highest over/under. Hold on, let me double check. Yeah, it is the highest projected total. Don't know why. The analysts are saying Guardians all the way. I have my reservations, but what do you guys think?
I too have my reservations.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bud. Go ahead, Ivan.
I think this is the start of the Liz's golden age. Sorry.
No.
The last time we played and I had a higher inducement count than you, it was rough. And I know you have a good amount of inducement money here, but
Mhm.
these Lizzas are off to a really good start. I'm giving you bulletin board material.
Hey,
They say you could score 2 touchdowns, but your
Yeah.
team is slow and their
yeah, it
team
is
is
very
fast.
slow,
So like
but
I think on paper like I think it should lean the other way, but
yeah, I
this should be a good match, I think.
I personally agree with everything y'all are saying.
Yeah,
um,
this I th- it's just a lot. I think you could. I think you can win this. I mean, anybody can win any game, but I think with
Mhm.
your knowledge and forethought of this game, I think you could pull this out. But you definitely got an uphill battle with this one. I will say it is
Yeah.
not going to be easy. But I think I can you pull it off. I think if anybody can pull this off, I think you can.
Oh
But
yeah.
the Lizards
Well-
are definitely not gonna. They're not gonna make it easy on you.
no,
They are gonna punish you, and anything that gets through is gonna get old. It's just
Yep.
nasty.
I mean, taking myself out of this, it's a tough matchup on paper.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You've got fully kitted sources, 3 block on the board, Croxagore, 6 Saurus, 4 Skinks. Yeah, I mean, against a team that's missing a few crucial pieces, a couple block down.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun one. We'll see.
You get some inducement cash. That's gonna be a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
I mean,
Yeah, that'll be
there's 260,000
I
on
think
the
that's
board.
the most
So
we've seen so far this season. That's gonna be.
Yep.
That's anything over 200K is when you're really
Yep.
starting to get into some fun stuff.
Yep, I get to go shopping, and I haven't had many opportunities to go shopping over the course of this league, so I'm excited.
Take it from a grain of salt from me. I will say shopping is fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, echoing his sentiment, you're the winningest coach in league history, and by
Mhm.
all means, like you can rest on those laurels and any expectations of you. But as you mentioned, you're down a lot of resources, even with inducements at this point, and this is, in my opinion, of any coach that didn't start in day one from this league, probably our most improved coach as a whole.
Mhm.
He's learned a lot about the game, and he's got the resources at his hands to deal with this situation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I mean, I'm excited. I've had the opportunity to play Jesse last season. Great coach. He's only getting better. So
He
coming
was
for
not
you.
looking forward to being put into the bowl division
Yeah.
with us either.
Yep.
And
I
now
think he
it's about to
can
turn around.
Yeah,
And
see,
he's looking like a team that
Yeah.
has the opportunity
Yep.
to be at the top of the division.
Last week
Right.
was friendly. Now it's for real.
Mhm.
Now we're turning things up
Yeah.
a notch.
All right. Moving on. The Skulkers take on the Aliens. The line is set to the startups, the Skulkers, at 0.1. So, probably closer to a tie prediction. Aggie and Lucy, they say Skulkers. Boomer is saying, don't put disrespect on the Aliens. They've been here since season 1. Come on now. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's a pretty bold prediction.
I
wasn't
think that's
here
a bold
for it.
prediction.
That is a strong
Yeah,
prediction.
I
wasn't
think
here
the
for the refund
Skulkers
hype
are
of the
going to make
Aliens.
them work for it, probably.
Mhm.
But I think I'm going to hand the ultimate W to the Aliens.
I would have to agree.
Don't ever discount the Aliens. They were, if Aliens weren't in a division with 2 of the most prolific teams in league history last season, they were easily a playoff team. And even with the turnaround from having to redraft this roster, they are not a team to take lightly. Again, as mentioned earlier in the show, NASCAR Jobless might have the potential to be the next star of this league. Granted, new coach for the Vermin Skulkers, learning the ropes, got a lot to learn here. And there's a big opportunity to go into such a varied roster that something like a Chaos Renegades roster can present. But I think the Aliens just have the upper hand in this, regardless of the models.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thanks, guys.
I think.
Well, I mean, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
How do you
No, no,
feel about
I-
this
I-
matchup?
Well, I'll just say, yes, there's a chance for me to lose. That's just for every game.
course.
And with Skaven, I mean, granted, I've only played against Undaheim, but I've never actually beaten a Skaven roster with this team.
Hmm.
And they are going the full pedal to the metal roster when it comes to no roger, just speed.
Very fast.
And they do outspeed me. I get that. Last week I wasn't giving up my game plan. I'll say it here. I'm gonna try and kill him. I'm sorry. Like I'm gonna have Zod try and get the goat game. It's gonna be worse than Kamurocho.
Okay.
You know what?
All
I
right.
like it. I like the strategy.
Yeah. We'll see if it works. But yeah, a lot of armor 8. I have my team is Bash. Besides the Luchadors and the Kaza Doom, I feel like I'm one of the best, and the Mutant Mayhem. I feel like I'm in the top half of the bashiness of the league,
Mhm.
right? But it's really going to
Yeah.
come down to, does he have enough players left to just outscore me?
Yep.
I think. And
I mean, I will say
We'll
the
see.
Skulkers are coming in with good amount of cash.
that's another thing.
Good amount of
I'm
cash.
expecting
So
Mhm.
I'm expecting a star, probably a mega star, and if they're
Yeah.
out, I'm going to try and kill them.
I mean,
So,
Skaven has pretty good star access, so it'll be
Yes, they do.
it'll be interesting to see how this coach takes that and uses it to his advantage. So
Yeah, much
Well,
like
that-
the new
is that-
coaching situation for the Dragonaires, same thing here for the Skulkers, where it's going to take a little bit of that wherewithal and how much you've learned in your short time playing to know what to do with good inducement money. And there's a lot of really good access you have playing a Skaven roster.
a lot of options for this.
With 3, am I doing this? Am I looking at this right?
305.
305K.
305.
oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is gonna be. He has the pick of. He is the bell of the
He has the pick of
ball.
the litter.
He's
There's
got
no morgue, but everything else is the game.
everything but Morgan the Giant is
Yep.
available to him.
Right. And
So.
I can't really, it's almost like last week. I can't really account for that. I just have to take what I get.
Mm-hmm.
But the team itself, it's new. It's not super developed. It's low armor.
Right.
We'll see how it goes.
All
Hope for a good
right.
match.
And then the matchup you've all been desperately waiting for. The Underheim Mighty Rats taking on the Luchadors. The line's set to Underheim by a touchdown and a half nearly. Aggie and Lucy say Underheim's the champs. They've got this. And then Boomer says now Underheim's a little hurt. And Luchadors, they've picked up some momentum and they're ready to start crushing. What do you guys think about our marquee matchup?
I think the Mighty Rats have a mighty long way to climb.
Yeah.
This will be rough.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very fun match to watch. I am 100% going to rewatch this match once it is
Mhm.
videotaped and properly streamed on Twitch, because we have a new internet connection happening. So should be good with no more drops on the stream.
Upgrades in the stadium.
We're doing upgrades. But I think even with, yes, the Mighty Rats are severely hurt and missing some very, very crucial pieces and some great pieces for them. But I think the Underheim coach has been behind before and dealt with a deficit and has still succeeded, or at least been able to pull something out of it. I think it just all depends on if the Trollolol's just maybe overplay or overstretch or just get a bit too greedy. I could see them making some mistakes that the exceptional coach of the Mighty Rats could exploit. But that is asking a lot, and it's just a whole lot of big guys to deal with. Just a whole lot of no thank you as far as block action is concerned. I think the Rats still, even with his crucial pieces missing, he still has the raw speed to get around those trolls and try to pop his more vulnerable pieces and just generally get around the wall and score.
I will say I do give the Rats the edge for sure.
Mm-hmm.
As someone that played against the Luchadors this past week, they've gotten a lot better. I've always thought they've been a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
This squad, this team, I can see them doing some major damage, and that's what I'm sensing here.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that it's 6 mighty blow pieces with regen armor 10, yes, they're slow,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a wall. Once they get a cage going, you're just gonna have to try to slow it down. I mean, you're already gonna do like a screen, but it's rough. And honestly, 2 words: projectile vomit. That stuff. I I saw enough of it, and I'm inspired. So I'll be using it too as soon as I get mine. But just
Mm-hmm.
you were mentioning stab as an alternative a way of getting through low armor pieces with
Mm-hmm.
defensive skills. Same thing here. Projectile vomit, you can use it with the blitz.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no risk because you're placed prone, so it's not really a turnover if you fail it. So it's another option on that team to
True.
cause some major damage.
True. So yeah, the trolls definitely have some tools to make some advantageous blocks outside of normal means, but my hope is that the Skaven coach will just not even have opportunities to be there, not give him opportunities to make any of those type of moves in the first place. We have the Skaven coach right here. What are you
You're
thinking?
waiting for me to say something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was also trying
I'm not gonna
to
speak for you. Yeah.
possibly get the Luchadors coach in for a quick interview after
Mm.
we have our takes, but he's not responding to me. But anyway, carry on.
No, you're good. This is going to be an actual how do I phrase this best? I got my head kicked in week 1, and I don't think that's going to be any different in week 2, even if it's a low roll game for a troll team, which is basically an ogre team with flair. I think at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
um, absolutely no disrespect to the coach for the trolls by any means. He is actually deceptively good at this game. He is just has a penchant for the chaos that comes with playing something like a tier 3 team. Down both gutter runners, the curse of wearing the number 7 in Undheim continues, as every player to wear the number 7 has continued to be injured immediately after stepping onto the pitch. That is no joke. 4 players in league history have worn the number 7, and none of them have played a second game. Hopefully that changes in week 3, but we'll see what this roster needs at that point. 8 linemen is not going to be great in the situation, but just to even keep the game close in week 1 against the Mutant Mayhem, which one of the most exciting games I've ever played of Blood Bowl, and I've got a championship to my name, was last week, because that was I had to pull out all the stops and I still lost, and those are the fun games in my opinion. And this is going to be another one of those where instead of getting off to a rough start and having to figure out what can I do with what's left, I have all that presented up front to me. I know it's an uphill battle. I'm giving full support to the trolls being able to win this game outright, and that's coming from me. And I will tell you that you can't win a game unless you believe you can win. In that same regard, I still have a rat ogre, I still have a blitzer, and I have a thrower. And linemen who are willing to throw the ball themselves, evidently. So, I do have resources. I do have Skaven, and I know how to play rats at this point. And just use what you got, and it's the prime evidence that a game of Blood Bowl is never over until you give up on yourself. With minimum resources, you can still do a lot if you know how to play the type of team you have in your hands. And that's what it really boils down to. But it's going to be an uphill battle. I know that the sentiment was the 3 coaches that have won championships, which are the Guardians, the Mighty Rats, and the Dragons. Last week was the first time in league history that all 3 of those coaches lost in the same week.
Wow.
The times
Nuffle
they
might
are
be
changing.
Yeah, this
Time's over, old man.
Yeah, not going to discredit myself or any of the 3 coaches that have been mentioned, but this might be a turning point where the 3 of us are looking at middle of the road or even maybe the bottom end of the standings, and that's Blood Bowl for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be vastly more entertaining to see something like a troll team, absolutely trouncing its way into a playoff picture. That's just the fun of the game for me. As much as I love winning, get to put together a league of 14 teams and see all the insane things that happen. And this is one of those insane things, and it's going to be a fun game to watch. If you guys haven't seen a game of Blood Bowl before and you're somehow here, by all means, tune into the stream this Wednesday, and you're going to see not a prime example of what Blood Bowl looks like, but one of the most chaotic versions of Blood Bowl you'll see, and it's going to be a great time.
Yep. It'll be tonight from when this goes out.
Ah, yes.
But yeah.
Wednesday.
Yep.
Tonight.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. You know, it has potential to be a really cool matchup. Anything else from you guys? Any final words?
Good luck, coaches, for week 2.
Yep.
Have lots of fun, boys.
Blood Bowl.
Blood
In that order.
All right. Well, if that's it, then yeah, you can check this game out that you see on your screen right here live tonight at 6. And if you missed that one, it'll be on the YouTube channel here the following Wednesday. So this has been Wartscenter, and you guys have been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Goodbye.